business advisor and supply chain expert. And welcome back to my podcast, The Morning Mood. Good morning, my moodies. Hope you all are doing all right out there. If you're watching video, you will notice I am now wearing a sweater. Fall weather has landed in the mid Atlantic. I don't know where you all are located, but it is getting chilly here, and I'm excited. I love fall. So, we talked a couple of podcasts ago about feedback. We did kind of a general podcast about feedback. And then we did a more specific podcast about giving feedback and the propensity for people to kind of give crappy feedback sometimes. And why people give feedback and how to give feedback that will be well received. And we also talked about when you should maybe just shut the fuck up. So today we're going to talk about how to receive feedback because this is very, very important. So the first thing I want you to remember is that most of the time, if someone has taken time out of their day to give you feedback, that means that they've taken time out of their life to think about you. And if they've taken time out of their life to think about you, that probably means that you're kind of important to them in some way or another. Either they need you to help get a project done, or they need you for some purpose, or they highly respect you and revere you. And they, for some reason, want you to be around and they want to be involved. So, that is the first thing that you need to remember is that most people who are giving you feedback are giving you feedback because they want to be involved and they want to help you improve. That is, I would say, about 90% of the people out there. And that's 90% of the feedback that you're going to get. And I want you to hear this message, okay? Because this is what places you in the position to be able to hear the feedback. So remember, when someone wants to give you feedback or they've pulled you aside and they've observed something, they saw something, they found something in a document, remember that that person is trying to help. They're investing in you. They're taking time out of their day and out of their lives to think about you and invest in you. So remember that when someone wants to give you feedback. And I keep harping on this because I can't tell you how many times I tried to give somebody feedback or actually did give somebody feedback. And they were like, "What? Why? I don't care." And it's like, "Okay, that's fine." And from my perspective, I'm like, "That's fine. If you don't value my feedback, that's okay. I'm not going to give it to you. That is quite all right. I'm not going to waste my time and take energy out of my life to continue to give you feedback then. That is totally fine. But that's what the other end looks like when you're dismissive of someone's feedback. When you're like, whatever, I don't want to hear it. That's you can say that. And you, as the receiver of feedback, can say that at any moment. And we're going to get to that when you should say that. But I want you to realize that when someone takes time out of their day, when they take energy away from their life to craft feedback for you, that truly is a gift of energy from that person. Now, not everybody is coming from that place, and we're going to talk about that because feedback does become a weapon. People do weaponize feedback, and they start to ego trip a little bit on it. So we're going to get to that. But again, I want you to realize if someone takes time to give you feedback on something, if they've taken energy out of their life to think about what you're doing, listen. And I'm harping on this because it took me a long time to realize that personally, a really long time. And for a very, very, very long time, I took any feedback that I got as just blunt ass criticism. And that to me felt like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was an idiot. I had imposter syndrome. Like, you name it, man. Like, I had it. So there was a really big point in my life when anytime anyone gave me feedback, I got really defensive. Now, I don't think I always showed it. I probably did some. But inside, I felt very attacked by someone's feedback. Even it was just like totally material, like, hey, you misspelled a word. I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. I don't know what to do. I'm a failure. No one will believe me because I can't spell a word. I am forever getting I and E backwards. It's just forever. I don't probably got some learning disabilities in there somewhere undiagnosed. But I struggle with spelling. I always have struggled with spelling. And that was always just a very, for me, kind of a very humiliating thing to get called out on it. When reality, it was just part of being in a rush and doing a million things and building billion-dollar businesses. And every now and then you're going to misspell a word and it's all right. But feedback, but that I feel like there were times when I didn't really get the full gist of the feedback because I was so focused on trying to be right, and that I thought I fucked up. That the fact that anybody was telling me anything meant that I just royally fucked up, and not that it was just an opportunity for me to improve. So that's why I wanna really set this table hard on that, okay? So when someone is coming at you with feedback, remember, 90% of the time, it really is a gift. It really is some time that they put in to think about you, 90% of the time. All right, so now that I got that off my chest, what do you do when you get feedback, right? So somebody comes at you and they're like, "Hey, Kim, I got some feedback for you on that last meeting you were in." Now, let me tell you something. That this has happened quite often to me. And I think I mentioned in a previous podcast, you probably guys might not have heard it yet. I recorded it a couple weeks ago where I've always kind of had a tendency to show up with big energy in meetings because I'm a little person. You guys can't see me, but I'm relatively small compared to the rest of the population. And so I kind of have a sense to get loud and boisterous and bring a big energy to the room. And a lot of times people get offended by that. And there were times when that feedback was probably offended. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was a piece of feedback that I got that it took me years to finally understand. And that came from Connie Kristovich. And I'm going to get her on the show, dragging around here. And Connie gave me this feedback, and you're gonna learn when Connie and I talk. Connie and I did not have a great relationship in the beginning. In fact, she was one of my greatest teachers because we did not have a great relationship in the beginning. We have a fabulous relationship now, and we had a fabulous relationship once we got past of all of our bullshit. But Connie's taught me a really big lesson. And Connie told me this. She said, "Kim, when you walk into a room, you change the weather." Now think about that for a minute. Energy's so big that it changes the weather system. Okay, that's something you gotta keep under control and you gotta harness it. If you guys who listen to this podcast, you know I got big energy because it's jumping through the screen. But what happened was that when I was happy, that was big happy energy, and that was the sunshine and beaches, and everybody loved it. But when I was pissed off, when things weren't going right, and I was about ready to like lay it down, throw hands, you could tell. And when I walked into the room, I brought all of that bad energy with me. I bought that big gray cloud. People could tell the way that I walked into a room what was going to happen. And so I struggled with that feedback because how do you take that? Like, how do you, like, Kim, you're a weather system. Like, what do you do with that? But you know what I had to realize? And once I was able to hear and accept that feedback, is that she was right. If I was angry or mad or just torqued about something that didn't go right, it was all over my face, it was all over my body, it was all over anything. It was the big gray cloud that I carried around with me everywhere I went, and it scared people. It made people uncomfortable. Now think about getting that kind of feedback. Kim, you make people feel uncomfortable. God damn. What do you do with that? Well, here's what you do with that. You think a lot about it. And you observe a lot and you ask other people for feedback and you say, "Hey, I've been told that I make people uncomfortable in meetings because of my big energy and I get kind of fired up about stuff. Do you see this? What do you see? How do you see me showing up this way?" And after I did that for about 5 or 6 people, hey, you know what? It turns out I do that. But it wasn't out of malfeasance, it wasn't out of meanness. It was just out of push to get shit done. And people recognize that, which is why it kept getting sort of brushed away, right? I never really got in trouble for it because people were like, "She's getting shit done, so we're okay with it." But after I got some feedback from some people, I found out that, yeah, you do kind of blow up in a meeting and it's really uncomfortable. Great. Hard feedback to hear. But when you put the lens on it that these people had taken time out of their day and at the time that kind of gave me this feedback, like she actively disliked me. Like, I'm gonna say actively because she actively disliked me. Like, It was an actual daily exercise for her, I believe, at that point. But for her to even sit me down and give me that feedback, even though she was actively hating me at the time, took a lot. It took a lot. And it took a lot for the 5 or 6 other people I went and verified what she said to tell me the truth. And I'm gonna tell you what I did with it, because this is part of my feedback lesson for feedback receivers. When you get good feedback like that, when you get someone who gets in your shit like that, and that's good feedback. That people in your shit is good feedback. When you have somebody who cares about you enough to get in it, that's good feedback. And that's somebody who's on your side. Believe it or not, that person is actually on your side. I'll never forget Marco Netto, our SVP of Worldwide Operations. He was my SVP. He was my mentor. I met with him frequently. And I'll never forget, he read a document for me one day, and I was so humiliated. I've never I'm humiliated now. I was so humiliated that he had found a couple of mistakes in my document. I'll never forget, like, I almost broke down in tears. Almost breaking down in tears now over it. So humiliated that I had made such a just rookie mistake, and that my SVP caught it. And if you don't know, Amazon Ops SVP, like that's Jeff and then the SVP, so that's number 2. Um, but the shame and the humiliation, and he could tell, he could see that I was getting upset about it. And his feedback was not harsh, it was not mean, it was 100% constructive, and it was actually really good feedback. But he could tell that I was getting frustrated and upset with this. And he's the one that told me that. He said, "Kim, if I'm taking time and an hour out of my day," and the SVP of worldwide operations at Amazon, an hour of his day is worth a lot of money. He says, "If I'm taking an hour out of my day to sit and talk with you and read through your document and give you feedback," he goes, "Do you know what that means?" And I was like, "You're gonna fire me? Like, I'm a fucking loser?" He goes, "No. It means that I care, and it means that I'm investing in you, and I wanna see you be successful, and I believe in you." That's what that feedback meant. That hour of ripping apart my document was investment. So remember that. Be open to the feedback. Listen to the feedback. Hear the feedback. Even when the feedback is, you make people uncomfortable. I also, in my defense, in this situation with Connie, I actually had a very uncomfortable job, which made everybody uncomfortable. And there really wasn't a comfortable way to do that job, unfortunately. When you're doing a leadership clean out with a 100-year-old company, they're always gonna be painful. I can't tell you, I don't know any way to make those go smoothly. If somebody does, please tell me. I was never able to figure that out. Okay, so we talked about receiving feedback and why you need to hear the feedback. When you get good feedback, listen, thank them. "Thank you for taking time to read my document, Mark." I'm a big fucking idiot. I'm not, but that's what I felt like. Thank them. Take the feedback. They took time to invest in you. Now, on the back half of this, we're going to talk about the bad feedback and the assholes who provide it. So, we talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, about 90% of the feedback that you're going to hear in the corporate world is good feedback. It's people actually care about you, they're investing in you, even when it's crappy feedback like, "Hey, you're a storm in a teacup and you make everybody feel like shit." That's good feedback, even though it hurts when you hear it. But that extra 10% of the feedback is what you got to worry about, because those are people who actually aren't investing in you, they're investing in themselves. And it can be hard to tell the difference. So, shitty feedback looks like this. You said this, that, I don't agree, you don't know what you're doing, yada, yada, yada. It almost always comes out as a direct attack. You did, you said, you wrote. Versus good feedback almost comes across as, "Hey, in that meeting, I noticed this behavior," or, "Hey, when I was reading the document, I think it would read a little bit better if we did it, if we wrote it this way, or if you move this, or you made bullet points, or whatever it is, right? But you see, it's not an attack. It doesn't say you. It doesn't say you did, you this, you that. All shitty feedback almost starts with that because it is a personal attack because it's coming from a personal opinion. It's not actually feedback. So, good feedback, as we talked about in giving feedback, in receiving feedback, good feedback is normally normally weighted in data. Okay. So that means that your document had a misspelling. It seems confusing. I think you should do it another way. This writing will be different. Hey, I looked at your numbers. Your numbers are down. Your numbers are up, whatever it is. It's rooted in some sort of data, some sort of material information, always. Shitty feedback, and you feel free to use that term, shitty feedback. Shitty feedback almost always has no data. It's an opinion, it's a feeling, it's a thought. It's based on my experience. Now that I don't wanna discount that because experience values, but a lot of times people giving shitty feedback will use that as an excuse. Well, based on my experience, this is what I've seen happen, and that's fine. So you can't stop shitty feedback. Here's the thing, you cannot stop shitty feedback. You will drive yourself bonkers if you spend your life trying to stop shitty feedback because, 1, you don't know who's gonna give it until it's done. And as I said, about 10% is out there. You don't need to be focusing on that. So, what we're going to focus on is how do you receive shitty feedback? Because sometimes if you dig around in that pile a little bit, there is a little kernel of corn that may be helpful. I hope you liked that alliteration. That was for you, especially in the morning. Okay, so shitty feedback. They coming at you. You did this in this meeting. I think you look like an idiot when you did that. You're a fool. Your document doesn't make sense. You don't know what you're talking about. You really got to get your shit together. People are going to start talking about you. Oh, and my other favorites. Everybody thinks. That's my other favorite. Shitty feedback also starts with everybody thinks. Well, okay, we're going to back that right up. So here's how we accept shitty feedback. Number one, if they start with everybody thinks, they don't speak for everybody. They speak for themselves. Now, depending on your situation, your temperament, your tolerance for this particular person, you may want to address that. I tend to be a little bit high conflict. I don't know if y'all knew that. But I happen to be a little bit high conflict, and I would address that. I would say, hey, you don't speak for everyone, you speak for yourself. If you feel like other people have feedback from me, please let me know who they are, and I would love to speak to them directly. Thank you. But I would like to hear what feedback you individually have. You don't speak to everybody. You don't know what everybody thinks. So you can attack it or you can just let it go. And just know that what that person is saying is their own individual opinion, no matter if they say everybody thinks, because they don't actually know what everybody thinks. Because there are a lot of fucking people in this world and they can't possibly know. Okay? Attack it, don't attack it, up to you, but keep that feedback in that framework. Shitty feedback framework. As I said, there's always a little piece of corn in there, so we're gonna keep digging, okay? Fine. Everybody says, Kim, that, your document doesn't make sense, right? Thank you, David. What specifically is it that you don't think makes sense? Well, it's just general, like, I don't it's not how I would do it. Okay. How would you do it? Well, I don't want to tell you how to do your job. Like, I shouldn't even have to tell you how to do your job. I'm just giving you feedback that I think the document isn't good. Great. Thanks. That's it. That's how you take shitty feedback. Don't argue with it. Don't give it energy. In that little feedback, little drama I laid out there was not an actual data point. It was an opinion. I don't like it. That's fine. I don't like raspberry ice cream. Don't eat it. That is how you accept shitty feedback. Now, is there a kernel in there? Was there something in there in that shitty feedback? Yeah, the document probably could have used a little bit of a polishing, and it did get a polish. It was worth taking a look at to see if there's something in there that made it look a little bit clean. But that wasn't valuable feedback. That wasn't good feedback. That wasn't feedback based in fact or data or performance. It was some guy's opinion. Here's another great example of shitty feedback: calling people at home to give them feedback for hours about how everything they're doing is wrong. You didn't do this right in the meeting. You didn't do your business requirements aren't right. Your this isn't right. This isn't right. Blah, blah, blah. Look, here, man. Look, if it's that bad, let's address it in the meeting. If somebody's coming at you about things that were said and done in a meeting after the fact, address it in the meeting. Hey, Josh, thanks for calling me at home at 8 o'clock at night to tell me your personal opinion about my day. But next time, let's address it in the office in the meeting or on the Zoom call, whatever. We'll address it in the meeting. We'll address it in the meeting. That is how you handle that. Any true feedback besides your personal, kind of your performance feedback, and if you actually fucked it up, okay. But most feedback, when it's truly good feedback, can be given to you in a public space. Might be a little bit embarrassing, but it can. If it's truly good feedback, somebody can say it to you in a meeting. Shitty feedback has to be said behind doors and some of that personnel stuff that we got to talk about. Okay. So I'm not saying all behind doors feedback is shitty. I'm just saying if somebody is refusing to say something in a meeting and you feel like it would be in a meeting, that's shitty feedback. So how do you accept shitty feedback? Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. That's it, baby. That's how you handle shitty feedback. What do you do when you get good feedback? Thank you. Thank you for taking time to give me feedback. I totally appreciate it. I respect that you did this for me. Got it? Good feedback, bad feedback. All right, my booties, hang in there. We'll chat soon.